Yeah, hi everyone. So my name is Josh. So today I'm just going to be speaking about the Global Shapers community, which is a community of young people driving dialogue, action and change all over the world. So I'm from the London hub. And this is an initiative by the World Economic Forum as well. And I just wanted to share a bit about the initiatives that... Sorry?
Sure.
Okay, got it.
If you want to.
Sure, I think this is fine. So this is the kind of scale of the initiatives in the world. So there are about 11,000 people and in more than 500 city-based hubs across 150 countries. And the idea is to lead collective action through volunteer-led projects to address the needs of the respective communities and come up with scalable solutions for organizing and mobilizing the full potential of young people. And these are the values that really underpin every single project. So it's really about passion, really about integrity, commitment, service, and cooperation, values which I'm sure resonate with many people in the room today. And the mission is really to turn passion into impact. And the underlying principle and the belief is that half of the world's population is under 30, and there's a belief that young people are central to creating solutions which are long-lasting, that are able to shape policies and are able to have an impact which is far-reaching. And there's this concept of trying to unlock long-term opportunities and also trying to get young people involved in the decision-making process so that when they progress into the workplace or they pursue opportunities in the public sector or even in the private sector, they're able to take these experiences with them and be able to lead to change in their respective professions as well. So it's about developing young youth leaders, accelerating youth action, and amplifying youth voices. So since 2011, there's been a lot of projects. There's been about 3,000. There's been many stakeholders engaged globally, and all these initiatives have follow-ups to maintain the momentum. So after some members they age out and they progress into the workplace, there'll be new members that will kind of take over the mantle and then continue to champion the respective cause. And there are actually 6 main impact areas that the community is really focused on. And this is really the cornerstone, when the community thinks about the projects that it wants to do. So it's about, as you can see, building inclusive communities, reskilling, health and well-being, basic needs, of course the environment, and strengthening civic engagement. So I think that provides, a very broad overview. And at this point, I'd just like to touch on maybe 2 initiatives just to provide an idea of how it is in practice. So there was one that had to do with, it's called Food for All. So there was an idea that there was a lot of homelessness and there were people that did not have access to food banks because they were in regions that were underserved. So this was an initiative about 2-3 years ago, whereby the community set up food banks in certain areas for individuals that were struggling, and it was not just the homeless, but also refugees or those from migrant backgrounds that needed a lot of assistance. And I'm glad to say that it really led to an improvement in the livelihoods of those people. But at the same time, it mobilized more people after they were aware that this was an issue that needed resolving. And then the second initiative has to do with shaping digital futures, whereby there was a notion that a lot of people are not equipped with the skills to really engage meaningfully in the digital space, whether it has to do with AI or has to do with the new careers relating to cybersecurity. And so through a series of causes and a series of kind of like fireside chats, it was able to bridge that gap and be able to really foster learning from those that previously didn't really have access to the educational opportunities to have those skills. So so those are two of many other projects that have been initiated, and I'll welcome any questions on it later as well. So thank you. Yep. So is it Q&A now, or if there's any questions?
Yes.
There aren't any. Yep.
I could start, I guess.
Sure.
So I was wondering, where is the majority of the people that you are supporting? Like, what are the demographics of that? Did you share that earlier?
So in terms of demographics, it really depends on the impact area. So, I mentioned about the 6 impact areas. So, for example, in the case of reskilling, it would likely be those, it could be refugees or those that are maybe, they don't have the qualifications, or they didn't have foundational educational opportunities. Maybe they didn't attend school. So that would be the demographic. But in the case of in the case of building inclusive communities, it would be minorities. And so there are a few initiatives as well devoted to women as well, to kind of foster greater representation. And I think that also dovetails with strengthening civic engagement. So I would say there's a lot of, maybe the word is intersectionality, but there's a lot of overlap in terms of the demographics that would be targeted, but it really depends on the impact area in question.
So my follow-up question to that is, are these global shapers self-selected? Like, do they nominate themselves?
Oh, so what happens is that there's a selection process, actually. So in London, there are about 3 hubs. Each hub, there are about 15 people. And because they realize that London is such a cosmopolitan city, so that's why there's more than one. So I'm from Hub 1. Hub 1 was actually one of the earlier ones that was set up as part of the program. And so there's a selection process whereby sometime in Michaelmas term there'll be applications. So they'll all apply, then there'll be an interview, then there'll be an application form, and then there'll be a confirmation after about a few months. So it's not self-selected, but it's just individuals apply for the program, and then if they get accepted, then they're part of it.
What kind of qualifications are you looking for?
So I think there are a few. So I wasn't handling the selection side of it, but I would say that there are a few kind of criteria. It really depends on the hub as well. So I think it really depends on the geography. Like Singapore may have a different eligibility process from London, but I think broadly it goes back to the values part of it, which I think is key, and then what also matters is also the impact areas as well, because as part of the application, sometimes some of the applicants, they will have a project in mind that they really wish to act on. And so I think seeing the train of thought, seeing the kind of creativity, seeing the kind of ability to kind of identify considerations or implications, trying to think about how the project can sustain itself in the longer term. So I think that kind of thinking would all be assessed as part of the application process, and of course just looking at extracurriculars, whether or not they volunteered in the past, whether or not they demonstrated initiative. I would say that those are the attributes, which is no different from applications for the private sector as well, or the public sector. So, yeah.
I have one last question.
Yes.
So you mentioned earlier that you're in the venture capital space.
Yep.
So is this project considered like an investment in like VC kind of investment, or is this?
Oh, in terms of so what happens is that the World Economic Forum does provide a certain amount of funds to run these initiatives, because as you can imagine, there's a lot of logistics underlying every single project. At the same time, they also seek partners as well, and this could be companies, it could be NGOs that can kind of support. It doesn't really have to be financial. It can also be logistics, but it can also be financial as well. And you know, in terms of the VC side of things, I think that VCs are kind of, they do participate, but they don't participate in terms of the financial side of it. But I think they participate in it through, maybe there's like a dialogue session, or let's say if there's a project on reskilling, then their involvement would be more apparent, because they can then kind of lend their voice to the private sector, and they can maybe, you know, guide students and also guide those who are in need to kind of close the knowledge gap. So I would say on the VC side, that is how their involvement tends to be.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is funded fully by the World Bank, it sounds like you said earlier.
Yeah, so there's a grant, but then they also, you know, usually there will be benefactors who will be willing to donate as well. So, yeah.
Anyone else?
Do you have a question?
No, I can just ask. No, just that I need your information because I'm really interested in it.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I love questions actually, so, yeah. Okay, awesome then. So, I guess now is...
Yeah, we finished 10 minutes.
Okay. So I think now is break time. And then of course, if there are any questions, you can speak to Paris and I. And then I think it will be the next panel. So thank you so much to Elena and Rasha for organizing this event.